Hi guys, Darth Deuces here, back with our Star Wars The Vintage Collection action figure review. Today taking a look at the newly released Clone Trooper Phase 2 armor from Andor. We finally have gotten our new clone molds for the 3 3/4 inch Vintage Collection. So I'm very much looking forward to this figure, taking a look at it, see how it stacks up with our previous iterations of different clone molds. But it's been a long time coming. I never hated the 2010 Vintage Collection clone mold, but there were a fair amount of issues with that mold, and I'll do comparisons with a couple of different molds with this one. But yeah, great that the Clone Trooper finally gets its new remold, much like the Stormtrooper did a couple of years ago now, I think. But here it is on the card back in the packaging. Pretty nice packaging, I guess. It's, after Andor, because they did appear in flashbacks in that show. Pretty good image, I guess, that you used for the card back there. With the Clone Trooper and the figure and the bubble and the other figures that you can get. I have previously reviewed most of these. The only ones I haven't are Vel and Cassian. I'll probably get Cassian eventually. I don't know if I'll ever get Vel unless I can get her for cheap. And then Starkiller, I will probably get him if I find him mint on card and in good condition to keep carded. I do already have the figure. I'm pretty sure I reviewed it years and years ago. Maybe I'll do a redo review of that sometime. Maybe. We'll see how I feel about that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the packaging. So I'm going to crack this figure open and we'll take a closer look. So now I have the figure out of the packaging, and it's pretty cool. It's definitely, I would say, overall an upgrade over previous Clone Trooper molds that we've gotten. But it's not perfect. I don't think this is the be-all, end-all sort of 3 3/4 inch Clone Trooper like I think with pretty much the Stormtroopers. I think they nailed that figure for the most part. Could give those figures the new hip joints, but other than that, that figure is pretty much perfect, in my opinion. But this one I think still has some things they could hash out. But yeah, let's take a look. There's not a whole lot to talk about in terms of detail because it's just a white trooper, or a trooper in white armor. But the helmet, I think, is the biggest thing here, where it's not a bad sculpt, I don't think. It looks decent enough, but I don't think they've nailed it still yet. I don't know what it is but the Phase 2 Clone Trooper helmet, but for whatever reason, they have a tough time really getting the right sculpt for it. It's good. It's just not great, I guess. I don't know. There's been better ones that they've done in previous years, in my opinion. And one thing you might notice, too, is that he basically has, like, no neck. And maybe this is just something you can't avoid with 3 3/4 inch Clone Trooper figures with removable helmets. I don't know. Yeah, just the way the helmet fits on the head. The helmet is removable, as you've seen when he's in the packaging. You can't remove it. He does have the really nice Tamira Morrison face-printed sculpt there, which looks really good. And without the helmet, it looks like fine. I guess maybe the head looks like it could maybe sit a little higher on the neck, I suppose. But with the helmet on, it just completely covers the neck, so it looks like he just doesn't have a neck. I don't know. It looks a little weird, I guess. I think they still got to work on the whole removable helmet thing, or have them as interchangeable head sculpts, even though I do like the gimmick of having it be an actual wearable helmet, I won't lie. It does look a little off. At least at certain angles. I don't know. The rest of the figure's done very well. The shoulder pads are actually a soft plastic that are glued at the bicep. Would have kind of liked if they'd done what they did with Hunter and the Black Series figures, where it's this ring that's sandwiched between the peg that goes into the torso. I think that would work a bit better, but this still gets, what you'd want out of it. And the rest of the detail, looks pretty good. There's not a whole lot to talk about, but they definitely did get the proportions a lot better. The Clone Troopers don't look super skinny anymore, which is really nice. They actually look like guys wearing armor, which is good. The black for the bodysuit where it's painted, I think is painted, well, I was going to say relatively cleanly, but they actually got a pretty big little splotch there of black paint where there shouldn't be on that arm, which is a little unfortunate. But overall, it's relatively cleanly painted, which is nice. Other than that, it's just white plastic with some black plastic. I will say at the hands, because I think the arms are white plastic with the black painted for the bodysuit, but for the hands it's black plastic for white painted for the plate armor, and the tone of white on the hands is a little bit different than the tone of white for the rest of the armor. And it is a little noticeable, I won't lie. Not a huge deal, but it is something to be aware of, I guess. But yeah, not bad. In terms of articulation, definitely the best articulated Clone Trooper figure we've ever had in 3 1/4 inch, I would say. You do have the new dumbbell joint at the neck, which goes up a fair amount, down a little bit. Not much pivot with the helmet on, but does rotate. Single hinges at the elbows. You move the shoulder pads out of the way. They can go up pretty far, and then they rotate. And you have your single hinge at the elbow, which bends a bit past 90, which is good. Swivel at the wrist, the up and down hinge at the trigger hand, which is great, and in and out for the other hand. Torso joint, which doesn't go back that far, crunches forward just a little bit, pivots a little bit, and rotates. New vintage collection style hip joint. You can kick it all the way forward, and what's nice is similar what they did with Hunter. They left enough of a gappage in the cod piece there, so you can actually kick it all the way forward without having to rotate the leg, which is really nice. Swivel cut at the thigh, which is perfectly hidden by the armor. Single hinges at the knees, which go about 90 degrees. Hinges at the ankles that go up a fair amount, go down a lot, and pivot. So lots of great articulation here. I definitely think this is the best articulated Clone Trooper they've ever made in this scale, and definitely the funnest to pose, not having those weird wide joints in the hips and all that. You get all the modern articulation, which is really great. In terms of accessories, you've already seen the removable helmet. You also do get the DC-15 carbine and the DC-15 rifle. I do wish these would have had some paint apps to them, a little bit of silver paint and some of the details like some of the other Clone Trooper releases have had, but still, these are nice enough. He holds them well. Got the trigger hand for that, like so. And it's nice they give you both options instead of just giving you like the carbine like they have been doing for a lot of Clone Trooper releases lately, giving you both blaster options. So if you army build, you can give them a bit of a variety of weaponry. But yeah, you can give them the hold it with 2 hands, no problem. So that's pretty much it for the figure itself. I guess now we'll do some comparisons here. We have the Revenge of the Sith Saga Legends Super Articulated Clone Trooper, which I still think is a really good figure. I think this figure has still one of the best Clone Trooper head sculpts or helmet sculpts going, even after all these years. I think this one still holds up really, really well. Some angles is a little weird, like the side profile is kind of strange looking, but yeah, still a really great figure. So you can see kind of how they size up. I still think this one's really good, but I will say, aside from the helmet, I do think the new one's better. It looks a little more natural, realistic looking, proportion-wise. It articulates better. So I do think it's a bit better, but you can see how they kind of stack up. And then here is the 2010 clone mold, which I was never hated or anything like that. I always liked it enough. But yeah, they were a bit overly skinny for some reason. They didn't really look like, if they were wearing the armor, they'd be super skinny underneath the armor. I don't actually have a standard white one. This is the closest I've got, but you can see kind of how they look together. And yeah, I actually don't know which helmet I prefer here between these two. I think I like this helmet the best of all 3, but these two, I'm not sure. I think the paint's a bit better on this helmet, but sculpt and shape-wise, I can't decide. This guy's a little yellow or something, I think, unfortunately. I'll just do a quick helmet swap. I'm just curious how they look. You know what? Is this helmet maybe a bit bigger? Those new helmets are really loose on the old figure. I don't know. I think the new helmet's a bit wider because I think this head is a lot bigger. But I guess if you want to, here's the. Can you put the new helmet on here? No, it stretches it too much, too tight. I don't want to force that. And then here he is with the Phase 1 Standard Clone Trooper, which was reissued a couple of years back now, I think, which is kind of crazy. See how they kind of stack up. And just for fun, I want to see if I can put this Phase 1 helmet on the new mold. You know what? I think that actually looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I imagine they'll make an official release eventually with the Phase 1 helmet. I don't know if they'd even have to do a remold. Maybe just reuse the helmet. This looks pretty good, honestly. think I might like how this looks more than the Phase 2 helmet it comes with. It's kind of funny, but yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. It gives you kind of a sense of how it stacks with the rest of the Clone Troopers have been released over the last few years. Overall, I do think it's still a great release. It does bring a lot of upgrades to the Clone Trooper figures. I am hoping we get a fair amount of new clones using this mold. I think the helmet could still be tweaked. Maybe they'll do that. Maybe they won't. I don't know. But I am looking forward to see what they do next with this mold. And if you are a fan of collecting Clone Troopers, or you've been waiting for these guys to army build, then definitely recommend picking these guys up. Anyways, that's pretty much all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. May the Force be with you.